I ask this question with every student of mine that comes to me to learn. And I've been asking this question probably for 40 years. I've been teaching now for 48 years. And I started asking the question because when you ask a person who their favorite drummers are, and I ask it alive or dead, if they're with us or they're not with us, who would be that influence? And I ask the question about when you hear that person play, they speak directly to your soul. So if I started, I'd probably say someone like Gene Krupa. Because what Gene Krupa did, he was the first one to start playing drums, and the excitement level of drumming began with Gene. Very powerful. Now, inside Gene Krupa, there are other drummers behind him. Chick Webb, Baby Dodds, Papa Joe Jones, all those players are in the Gene Krupa category. Those early drummers that played. Then I'd probably go with someone like Buddy Rich. Because when I was younger, when I heard Buddy Rich, he just completely opened up my mind. And he took what Gene Krupa did and took it to a whole nother level of more technical, proficient, and there was a higher level of excitement when Buddy played. And I heard Buddy play probably over 100 times. I met Buddy in 1971. I never met Gene Krupa, although I did speak to him on the phone once in the early 1970s in a lesson with Joe Morello. It was fantastic. I met Buddy, and every performance was incredible. You never walked away from a Buddy performance saying, man, Buddy wasn't on tonight. Never! Every night you heard Buddy, you were blown away. Absolutely blown away. Then I'd probably bring me into a player like, and I have to say, Max Roach and Elvin Jones. That jazz, bebop opening up of the idea of now all of a sudden playing a different perspective. They were different players than Buddy and Gene, but how they played when jazz started to kind of come into the scene. When Max Roach played, he just had a way that he played the ride cymbal that just his ride cymbal made me crazy. Elvin Jones, the way he played his phrases, he would speak sentences in his drumming that just was so open and honest and pure and just raw talent. It was unbelievable. And the recordings, of course, of Elvin with John Coltrane, it just blew our minds. Then I would go into someone like John Bonham. When John Bonham came out with Zeppelin, two of John Bonham's favorite drummers were Buddy Rich and Joe Morello. So when you're hearing John Bonham, it's kind of bringing it back to Joe Morello and Buddy Rich. And Joe Morello was a small group jazz drummer, like Max and like Elvin, and Bonham took those jazz patterns and put it into rock. When Zeppelin came out, there was a rock blues kind of a feel, and Bonham had a strong sound. And once you mentioned someone like John Bonham, now you mentioned someone like Jeff Porcaro, who was highly influenced by Bonham, or Bernard Purdy that had shuffles like Bonham. So that brings us into a whole other category. Last but not least, number 5, easily for me, would be Steve Gadd. Steve Gadd is such a high-level musician, a high-level drummer, and an absolutely high-level person. Steve is a very humble and great person. And once you say Steve Gadd, Steve opened up a door of opportunity back in the 1970s that totally changed people thinking. And at that time was Steve Gadd and people like Billy Cobham that thought differently about modern drums. And with what Gadd did and what Billy Cobham did at that time, it made you think differently. Steve Gadd started playing mixed sticking patterns, and every time he played a song, he played exactly the part that was great for that song. Steve Gadd is like a character actor in the movies, like Al Pacino or anyone like these great actors that when they play a role, you don't see them as an actor, you see the role that they're playing. When Gadd plays a groove, he's in that groove. You're not even aware of what Gadd's doing. Steve's playing, sucks you into the entire song. It's so magical. And someone like Kabim, at that time with Gad, when Kabim hit with Mahavishnu and started playing this progressive movement of open-handed drumming and creative playing, I went, oh my gosh. And then once you say someone like Steve Gadd or Billy Cobham, that then brings you to Vinnie Colaiuta, Dave Weckl, Steve Smith, Simon Phillips, Greg Bissonette, all these great Steve Smith, all these great drummers that are continuing in that fashion that brings us now into modern drumming. So those 5 areas to me are very important, which is why at the camp I teach a certain level of history. And I give the students a list of names of drummers that they must research. Go by and research, because if you like John Bonham, you got to go listen to Buddy Rich and Joe Morello. It really is magical. If you like someone like Vinnie Colaiuta, you got to go back and listen to Steve Gadd and Tony Williams. So you got to kind of go back a couple of generations to see what you can draw from the past influences that opens up your mind. This is the magic of education.